welcome to those of you who have taken my classes many times. I see a lot of familiar faces here. Welcome if it's your first time joining in. My name is Allie. I am a doctor of physical therapy as well as a nationally certified Pilates instructor. I have been practicing here in Boston over the last 5 years. I own my own practice here, but I also teach with the Community Online Academy every Thursday all day and have been since March. So today's program is my traditional back pain class. No props are required. We're just going to work with our body weight, and it's a 30-minute program. We're going to be almost entirely movement-based during today's program. We'll do some stretching, some strengthening, and then we'll save just a moment or two at the end for a couple of questions if they come up. And I encourage you guys to listen to your body. So today we will do some standing exercises as well. So if something doesn't feel right and you need to take a modification, please do so. You can always jump back in or do the modified version until you feel ready to progress that exercise a little bit. That way you leave this class feeling a little bit better than you came into it. So we're going to start lying down on our backs. We'll do a little bit of breath work before we get into our movement. So find a comfortable position. You can choose to lie flat on your back with your legs extended. You could also choose to have your knees bent and feet flat. So whatever your comfortable setup is, let your head rest down. I know for most of us, this really is the end of the day. So let your head kind of hang heavy, let your shoulders fall back on the mat, and take this moment here to check in with your body. I start pretty much all of my classes with breath work, but I really think for back pain class, it's probably the most important one to focus in on how your breath is moving through your body and how your muscles are helping to support your breath here. Our breath can help to stabilize our spine. Our breath can also help to decrease muscle tension and spasm in the low back. So let's take our hands right to the tops of the ribs and start to take your inhale breath in through the nose. Feel your ribs and belly start to lift up and open. And an exhale breath out through the mouth, letting go of some of that air that hangs out deep in your lungs. Take an inhale breath in through the nose and an exhale breath out through the mouth. As you take your inhale breath in, feel your belly and ribs open up and expand like a balloon, inflating equally in all directions. And with your exhale breath, feel that balloon gently close, letting go of that air all the way at the bottom of the balloon. Try 3 more like that. Take that big inhale breath in and a big exhale breath out. Last 2, we take another big inhale in and an exhale breath out. Great, guys. Last time here, take that big inhale in, exhale to release. We're going to use that breath now to go right into our pelvic tilting motion. So if you imagine the space under your low back, we're going to rock our tailbone towards our face to close the space under our low back, unravel to open that space. Exhale to close the space behind the low back. Inhale to open. Now we're going to try and pair that with the breathing, but gently pick up the pace if that feels comfortable. And I want this to be within your body's comfortable range of motion. So if you have not done a lot of moving today and your back's a little bit stiff, that's okay if this movement is small. As we work to rock the pelvis back and forth, I hope that it starts to loosen up a little bit. You may even get a little bit of cracking into your back. We'll try 3 more. And 2, exhale, close. Last time here, gently close and settle somewhere right in the middle. Go ahead and walk your feet together, knees together, and let your arms come down by your side. We'll start now by gently introducing some rotation into our low back. So very nice and easy, side to side, keeping your rib cage down onto the mat. It's okay for your hips to lift here, but you want to keep your shoulders and ribs down. Keeping the knees hugging together gently, feeling that soft stretch from side to side, but no pinching or pain. And know that your range of motion on both sides might be different. If you are getting pinching and pain, just stop right before that point and then gently rock to the other side. And I hope that as you move a little bit here, that range of motion starts to get more comfortable in a bigger range. Good. That's it here, guys. We'll try 4 more. Last 3. Last 2. And 1 more time here, and settle somewhere right in the middle. From here, we're going to set up for bridging. So walk your feet in nice and close towards your bottom so that both feet are planted down onto the floor, and you can tap your heels with your fingertips. Now we're doing bridging because we're going to do a very similar movement later in class. And this is also a nice stretch for the front of our thighs, especially if you've been sitting all day. So we'll ground the feet into the floor, pressing down. Go ahead and lift your hips on up, and then gently lower, tap your hips to the mat. We'll lift on up. You can choose to hold it here to just check in. If you feel that pressure in your low back, soften the rib cage towards your hips like you're closing that space. Press your palms into the floor, and then continue here. We lower down and lift. So it's like we have a hinge door right at our hips. We're dropping our hips to the floor and then pressing them up to that flat position of our hips where we get a little bit of extension, which is what helps to stretch our hip flexor muscle right on the front of the thigh. And our hip flexor actually attaches to our lower back, which is sometimes why you may feel this in your low back as you lift it lower. Good. 3 more. Drop down. Exhale, lift. 2 more. Down. Exhale, lift. Last time, lower. Exhale, lift. Hold up on this one. Press the feet into the floor. We'll hold for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Drop your hips back down. We're going to balance that out here with a little bit of core work and a stretch for our hips in the opposite direction. So we just did hip extension. We're going to now do hip flexion, bending the knee in towards the chest. So hug your right knee with both hands. Stretch your left leg out long. If this feels like pressure on your back, lift your left leg up a little bit higher. If it feels really easy, lower your left leg down. And then we switch the legs in space. So I want you to really imagine that this is a stretch, that you're pulling that knee in towards your chest while at the same time pressing the opposite leg out long a little bit farther away from you. Shoulders are resting down, neck is long, collarbones are open, and the back of your ribs continue to press into the mat. Good. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, last time, hug both knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a gentle stretch, gentle rock from side to side. Now, if you can, use this rock to rock yourself right on up to sitting. And then I'd like you to actually come all the way up to standing. So if you can continue that rock to come up to standing, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, find a comfortable standing position. I'm just going to adjust the camera a little bit here. So I wanted to get you guys up. We often do a lot of time down onto the mat. So I want to give you a couple things that you can do in standing. So we're going to practice squats, and squats are something that actually often I hear from patients causes back pain, but it's a really, really good strengthener to support your back. So we're going to go over our form. If you bring your fingertips, your thumbs to the bottom of your ribs and the pinkies to the top of your hips so you can feel the space between your ribs and hips, that space should stay the same. And our squat is going to be very similar to the bridge. So your glutes, your butt muscles are going to be working here. So we'll start by bending your hips backwards, then bending your knees, then pressing the hips forward like your bridge, standing up tall. Hips bend backwards, knees bend, push into your feet and stand up tall. Now this space between our ribs and hips, even though my spine's tipping forward, my spine position actually isn't really changing. It's staying in that neutral setup. It's my hips that are changing. So I'm keeping my fingertips there just to make sure that my spine position doesn't change. Now we're going to add on to this movement if you would like. So we'll reach the fingertips up to the ceiling, gently twist, opening our arms out to the side, twist to the right, lift both fingertips up. We drop down, fingertips in front, come into your squat, stand tall, reach up, and we twist to the other side, feet are planted. Inhale, lift the arms up. Drop the hips down, come into a squat, reach your arms tall, gently twist, use your arms like a lever to open up into that twist, come back through the center. We find that squat, lift up, stand tall, twist, reach back behind you, fingertips to the ceiling. We squat, stand tall, open up, gentle twist, reach the fingertips up, come through center, and we squat, stand tall, open up and twist, reach to the center. We'll do one more each side. We squat down and lift, gentle spine twist, lift the fingertips up. Last one, we squat and lift, open into that stretch, come back through the center and let your arms relax. Awesome. So while I have you guys here in standing, we're gonna do another quick exercise. It's a calf raise. I know it's like, how is that connected to our back? But our calf is the first muscle really when we're walking that does a big shock absorbing for our body so that that shock does not go into our low back. So we're gonna practice that here. Look down at your feet. Your feet should be parallel to one another. Your feet should be hips distance apart, and our hips are not the widest part of our legs, but actually where the femur bone comes into the pelvis. So it's usually about in the middle of your thigh. So if you look down, your feet should be stacked right underneath you. Your shoulders are on top of your hips, hips on top of your knees, knees on top of your feet. Spine is tall, and we start to slowly lift and lower up and down on your toes. Now, if we come back to that space between our ribs and hips, that should also stay the same as we lift and lower. A lot of times I see people use a little bit of momentum to swing their body front to back. You want to keep the space between your ribs and hips steady so that the work is down at your ankles. I like to imagine here that I am lifting and lowering off a sheet of glass. Okay, it's really delicate. So when I lower my heels down, I'm being gentle, and that's where that shock absorbing comes in to slowly, gently land our body on the ground instead of a heavy thud that then goes right into our back. So keep your spine tall. We continue to lift and lower. Be gentle. Press down into all 5 toes. I know those calf muscles start to burn a little bit. This is also a really nice trick if you tend to get some swelling in your legs over the course of the day. This can help because your calf muscles act like a pump to send the blood back to your heart. Good. 3 more. We lift and lower. That's it, guys. 2. Last time. Lower down and shake it out. Awesome. Now I'm going to adjust the camera. I know you guys are going to miss the top of my head for just a moment, but we're going to find ourselves back down onto the mat. So we'll reach our arms tall overhead, roll your spine down, or you can come into a squat and find yourselves back down onto the mat. We'll come through an all fours position here. So setting up hands and knees, shoulders are down away from the ears, and we'll run through a few cat cows. Allow your head to hang, and then drop your ribs down to the floor, picking up your heart. Allow your head to hang again, and drop the ribs, picking up your chest. Work within your body's comfortable range of motion here, letting your breath be comfortable and be natural. This should feel good for your spine, and if it doesn't, just gently ease in and out of that range of motion. 2 more times here. And once more. Good. From here, we're going to go ahead and walk all the way down to our stomach. So on our stomachs here, separate your feet a little bit, about hips distance apart. Hands fall underneath your shoulders, and we're going to start to press on up. So you can start with just your upper back. Maybe you're comfortable pressing all the way up into your low back. Just work within your body's comfortable range of motion, but this is a full extension position. So we've worked a little bit getting into a neutral with our bridging and with our squats. This extension goes a little bit past that point to lean backwards. An extension is the opposite position of how we spend our time sitting all day, with being bent forward in flexion. Feel the heaviness of your feet on the floor. If you feel any compression into your spine, think of drawing your ribs in towards your stomach, even when you're lifting your hips off the mat. You can also walk your feet out a little bit wider and turn your heels together, toes apart, to help open up the front of your hips a little bit here. Good. Drop the shoulders down away from the ears. We'll try 3 more like this. Good, guys. That's it. Last 2. And lower all the way down. Once more here. We press up, lower all the way down, and then you can push yourself up and back and round into a shell stretch, maybe even letting your forehead rest down onto the mat. We'll take an inhale breath in through the nose and an exhale breath out through the mouth, and then carefully come on up, rolling out the shoulders. From here, so we've done some stretching up and standing, we've done some stretching down on the floor, we're gonna come into a seated position. So I want you to find a comfortable seat wherever your body feels centered. That can be cross-legged, that can even stack a pillow underneath your hips, wherever your body is comfortable. But once you find that comfortable seat, I want you to stack your spine tall. Roll the shoulders down and back. Think of lengthening up through the top of your head, and then gently open up the arms to take up space. Think of sitting up against a wall, and you're going to gently dive the arms up and over from side to side. So we're going to stretch into the side body. We haven't done a lot of sideways movements yet in this class. This can help to open up our rib cage, so help to improve those breathing patterns from the beginning of our class. This can also help to improve our rotation, so our spine's ability to twist. And we'll add on to that in just a couple of moments here. Very nice. That's it. We have 4 more. And 3. Beautiful, guys. Sit up nice and tall. 2. And 1 more time here. Go ahead and pause the next time your left hand is down on the floor, right arm up to the ceiling. Like I said, we're going to take this into some rotation. So now thread your right hand underneath your left, and then you're going to spiral open and reach the right hand behind you. Peel the right arm underneath your left, and it may not actually get there, but you can aim your hand in that way and then reach it back behind you. I'm gently following my hand with my eyes here to add a little neck stretch. And this really is a stretch to target your upper back. And the reason we're focusing here on the upper back is that most people are stiffest in rotation here in the upper back, not actually in the low back. Even though we might feel it in the low back, sometimes that stiffness comes from up a little bit higher. We'll try 3 more. Good. And 2 more. Gentle twist here. Good, guys. Once more here. Gentle twist open. We're going to counter stretch now up and over to that right side. So right hand on the floor, reach the left arm up and over, and now thread your left hand underneath the right. Reach that left hand back behind you, and then again, thread it underneath the right side. See if at the same time you can keep pushing your right hand into the floor to keep your right shoulder away from your ear. Gently twisting to turn, and then opening back up and reaching. Good. Let your breath be comfortable and natural here. You can always modify your range of motion if one side doesn't feel good for your body. Just work within the range that's comfortable. That's it. 2 more here. We'll twist and gently open up. 1 more time here. We twist and gently open on up, spiraling back up to your seated position, and we'll take a little rest. Okay, so we're going to build now in a little bit more strength work. We did a lot of strengthening for our calves already. So in our strength work, we're going to get a little stretch for our calf muscles. So let's find ourselves back in that all fours position, hands and knees. And we are going to end up holding a plank. So if you know you are more comfortable being down on your forearms, go ahead and lower to your forearms now. You can drop your elbows directly underneath your shoulder. And if you're on your forearms, make sure that your hands look like the shape of an 11, so parallel to one another. Now from this position, drop your shoulders away from your ears. Purposely drop your ribs to the floor, and then think of lifting them up and away from the floor. Try that one more time here. Rib cage drops down, and then lift them up and away from the floor. We're gonna press the left toes back. And from here, I want you to really stretch that left calf muscle by pushing your body weight backwards. That should feel really quite nice, enjoying after all that hard work we just did. We'll do the same one. Flex your right foot, push it back behind you. Feel that nice little stretch through the right side. Drop your shoulders away from the ears. We'll do one more stretch on each side, pushing the left calf back behind you. Drop it back down. We'll push the right calf back behind you, head stays lifted, and drop it back down. And now we're gonna prepare for our full plank, but in that plank, I want you pressing backwards as though you are still stretching your calves, and that's whether you're on your forearms or your hands. So we'll step one foot back, step the other foot back. Now, if you need to drop onto your knees at any point, feel free to do so, but nothing fancy. We're just gonna hold that plank. Can you press your hands away from the floor? Flex those feet, push your body weight back into your heels, pick your head up long, keep looking at the mat in front of you, breathing in through your nose, exhaling out through your mouth. We hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can push yourself back into a downward dog and maybe pedal out your calves, or if you're on your knees, you're pushing yourself back to your child's pose. So either option is fine here. We'll feel that nice stretch through the backside of our legs. And then if everyone can lower back down onto their knees, this time allowing the forehead to rest down on the floor. Take an inhale breath in here through the nose, and an exhale breath out through the mouth. We're gonna walk both hands over to the right side of the mat, feeling that nice long stretch through the left side body. Taking a big inhale breath in here, and an exhale breath out. And then walking both hands up and over to the left side mat to stretch out that right side body. And again, feeling that nice long stretch through the right side, taking your deep breath in to fill the lungs with air, and an exhale breath out. And then carefully come all the way on up. You can roll out your shoulders and shake it out. We've got one more stretch here, which is for our hip flexors. So if you know you have sensitivity to kneeling, go ahead and roll up your mat a couple of times. We're gonna step our right foot forward. And let me just adjust the camera a tiny bit here so you guys have a better view. Okay, so right foot forward, and then square the hips. So rotate your left hip forward, right hip back. Pick your chest up nice and tall. We're gonna be stretching our left hip flexor in this case. And maybe by just stacking up really tall, you already feel the stretch in the front of that left hip. If you do not, you can deepen that stretch by gently shifting your body weight forward to feel the opening of the front of your left hip. Try and engage your left glute, keep your core active. And if you'd like to deepen that stretch even a tiny bit more, reach your left hand to the ceiling, right hand to the floor, and bend gently to that right side. We take a big, deep inhale breath in here through the nose, and an exhale breath out through the mouth. We'll bring our hands down, take that right foot back, and we'll do our left side here. So setting up, put your left foot down onto the floor, about a 90-degree angle at your front and back leg. Rotate your right hip forward, left hip back this time to square off your hips. Pick your chest up tall, engage your core and your right glute. And you may already feel that stretch in the front of your right thigh. If you don't, slightly bend forward until you do. And this again is a hip flexor stretch, and our hip flexor attaches to our low back. If you are feeling this as back pain, try and engage your core a little bit. Think about that space between your ribs and hips as getting smaller just slightly. That should also help to deepen the stretch in this position. So keeping spine tall, that very gentle stretch forward. We'll deepen that with a reach of the right hand up to the ceiling, left hand down towards the floor, a gentle side bend over towards that left side, reaching your fingertips to the floor, staying tall and lifted. Take a big inhale breath in through the nose and an exhale breath out through the mouth. And then gently lower back down. We're going to finish in the seated position today with our breath work, just like we began class. So find your comfortable seat, whatever works for your body, but I do want you to be able to sit up nice and tall. Hopefully it feels like you can sit a little bit taller than you began class. We'll take an inhale breath in through our nose, reaching the fingertips up tall to the ceiling. Exhale breath out, letting it go. Again, another inhale, lift tall, get tall through the top of your head, and an exhale to release. Last time here, inhale breath in, reaching up, lift, and exhale breath out. And you guys are all set for the movement-based part of our class today. So what I hope you take from today's program is that we did a bunch of stretches in different positions and different setups. We were laying down, standing, sitting. So you can take bits and pieces of what you learned today and integrate them throughout your day. You don't have to do all 30 minutes of this all at once. If you're waiting in line at the grocery store, you can do a couple of your calf raises, or maybe you're, sitting at the park, you can throw in a couple of those seated stretches. So integrating these bits and pieces throughout your day makes your spine stay strong, but also stay flexible throughout the day, and kind of gets on that side of prevention instead of management of back pain. So I'd like to spend our last 2 minutes here or so answering any questions you have. I'm going to get a little bit closer so that I can read the chat here. And I appreciate you guys all coming, especially late at night. It's great to have a lot of familiar faces. And just a reminder that we will go over the feedback app, and also that you can sign up for classes starting as early as 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Okay, so a question here, is there a modification for the last exercise, lifting your hips, stretching the hip flexor, if one hip flexor may be injured? So my recommendation is that if the hip flexor is injured, you want to just work in a smaller range of motion. So you may not push your hips up quite as high, but it is a safe exercise to do, assuming you keep your range of motion a little bit smaller. So Ruby asked, I get tightness in my thigh muscles. What should I do? So that last stretch that we did today is a really nice one. I mentioned that's for your hip flexor, but your hip flexor does all, one of them goes all the way down to your knee. And so you can get a nice stretch for the front of your thighs in that setup. Any other questions here? Thank you guys for joining. Thank you so much for all the kind feedback. And yes, to those of you who are noticing that your calf was tight or that you're a little bit wobbly, our calf muscles in a lot of people are quite weak. It can be surprising, especially when you're exercising in this way with bare feet. We're often used to wearing shoes when we're doing exercise, so it can be strengthening for your feet as well, but it's good practice, and I promise it gets easier as you work on it.